Hey fellas, how you doing? Here I am, hot off the heels of my last 40-minute long Wolverine video, and I figure why not go again. This time I'm going to ask the question, could Wolverine survive in the world of Warhammer Fantasy? Also known as the superior Warhammer world. I said it, and I'm not apologizing for it. Now, Wolverine is a pretty consistent character. His powers haven't really changed much since his introduction. He can regenerate from nearly any injury. He has an indestructible adamantium skeleton. He has retractable bone claws that are now coated in adamantium. He has enhanced strength, stamina, and agility. He's surprisingly stealthy when he chooses to be. And he has an enhanced sense of smell. Things he would be weak to in the Warhammer world include the lore of metal magic discipline, mind control or demonic possession, and any weapon with the ability to devour souls. Weapons like that are a genuine threat to Wolverine in his own universe, and I don't believe it would be any different in Warhammer's. So with that established, let's get into the hypothetical scenario. Let's say post-Weapon X Wolverine had the audacity to mouth off to Stephen Strange, who opened up a portal and threw Wolverine inside, and he woke up alone in the forests of the Empire, where he was very quickly surrounded by beastmen, whom Wolverine would proceed to slaughter with impunity. Since they're not humans, wielding badly maintained weapons that wouldn't be able to break his adamantium bones, and let's face it, as cool as they are, the beastmen are fodder at the best of times. Even their own chaos gods don't give a shit about them. Unless this happened to be a war herd with their own Bray shaman, they would not stand a chance against Wolverine. And just because I think it's funny, we're gonna say Wolverine stumbles into a small town where the local peasants think he's some kind of traveling circus performer. They believe his ability to pop his claws is just a sleight of hand, and he puts on cutting demonstration shows to entertain children and earn some cash to travel, while he learns about the new world he's currently stuck in. He has a history of hiding the fact that he's a mutant from the public, so that shouldn't be too hard. At least until a horde of orcs invades the town and Wolverine is forced to go sicko mode to protect everyone, revealing the fact that he's a pint-sized human blunder. This is just some nameless hypothetical orc warband, by the way. I'm not saying Wolverine would tear Grimgor to pieces straight off the bat, especially since Grimgor is basically Warhammer Fantasy's version of the Hulk, and Wolverine had a hard time fighting him back in the 70s, back when throwing cars around was still considered an impressive display of strength. After the battle, Wolverine would run off into the woods to brood because that's what he likes to do, and probably keep grinding the beastmen for experience, where we come along potential fate worse than death number 1. If a horde of beastmen were to ever capture Wolverine, they could use him as a source of infinite food. Since despite having the heads of herbivores, beastmen are known to eat people, because they're creepy and weird and awesome. And if you're gonna sit there and tell me you wouldn't pay to see Wolverine fight a horde of minotaurs with sharp, jagged teeth, then frankly, we just can't be friends. Now here's a question to spark some nerd debate in the comments. Would Wolverine's adamantium claws be able to pierce the brass hide of Taurox? I'm going to go ahead and say no, because Taurox's hide is protected by chaos magic, so it would probably require a magic-enhanced weapon to actually damage him. Also, could Taurox's axes potentially kill Wolverine? I have found no source material that says that they devour souls, only that they burn with chaos energy, meaning they would probably do a shitload of damage but probably not be able to kill Wolverine outright. So a fight between these two animals would last forever. Now, how would Wolverine fare if he accidentally found his way into Sylvania? Well, that would probably depend on which of the vampire counts was ruling at the time. I get the distinct impression that Vlad von Karstein would probably try to turn Wolverine into a vampire. This is based off of how he was characterized in the Stephen Savile Vampire Trilogy novels, a trio of stories that are no longer considered canon. But Vlad was always the most diplomatic of the vampire counts, and he turned other enemies who were able to destroy him to his side, like Jarek von Karstein, who actually crushed his head with a warhammer. He did the thing, guys. Jarek von Karstein was Warhammer and he was never made canon. Shame on Games Workshop. Shame on them. Meanwhile, if Conrad von Karstein were capable of capturing Wolverine, he would force him to fight in his fighting pits, basically throwing all of his political adversaries into the ring against Wolverine to get decapitated, since unless you're wearing Vlad von Karstein's regeneration ring, a decapitation is endgame for vampires. Oh, and here's a fun fact for you guys. The only reason vampires in Warhammer ever thought they were vulnerable to the sun was because Vlad von Karstein was a melodramatic man who wanted his children to believe that they were the children of the night, and just never told them they could go out in daylight without getting hurt. Weakened a bit, sure, but it doesn't kill them outright. What a sulky bitch. Manfred would probably want to capture and experiment on Wolverine. The idea of turning him into an infinitely regenerating zombie bodyguard would be too much for him to pass up on. Now the question is, could he do it? The Hand in Marvel Comics allegedly killed Wolverine and resurrected him under their control, so I don't see why Manfred wouldn't be able to if he were able to capture Wolverine somehow, probably overwhelming him from a distance with magic. Because let's be real, if Manfred sent skeletons or anything else after him, Wolverine would tear them to pieces. And without any magical buffs, Wolverine is inarguably at a disadvantage against the forces of chaos. Any champion of chaos with a soul-stealing weapon would be able to kill Wolverine pretty much instantly. And his adamantium claws would be completely useless against demons, since they are incorporeal beings that can only be hurt by magic or other chaos weapons. But there's two potential places Wolverine could get a buff. One is taking a dip in the waters of the Lady in Bretonia. Wolverine is a well-documented simp. The other is from the human god Ulrich, since Wolverine is everything he loves about people. He's a strong warrior, a blender of the unclean, and he has an affinity for canines. Ulrich would see Wolverine enter his world and go, "That's my son, that's my avatar, he's my guy now." And he would send dreams to his priests to find and bless Wolverine. That's my idea, that's my fanfiction, donut steal. Although Wolverine would have a problem with some of Sigmar's boys. He would see the witch hunters hunting down chaos mutants and conflate that with the hunters of mutants in his homeworld. It's possible after living on this world for any length of time he would realize that it's different. That chaos mutants basically have the potential to burst into chaos spawns and murder millions any second. But at first he definitely wouldn't like that. And if they ever caught Wolverine, they would probably torture him forever. Since I really don't think any human magic or technology would be able to kill him. Except for maybe the lore of metal. If they can figure out the composition of adamantium in the Warhammer Fantasy world. And if anybody could do that, it's Balthazar Gelt, who could turn the adamantium of Wolverine's bones to lead, at least temporarily. But here's the thing, right? Wolverine has survived his brain being deprived of oxygen for months. He was once coated in an adamantium shell where he suffocated to death and just got better when he got out of the shell. So technically Wolverine can just come back from the dead. At least until he gets old and his healing factor just starts to crap out on him. So if Balthazar Gelt's transmutations are only temporary, Wolverine would technically heal himself after a while. But Gelt can just keep renewing the spell, as long as the wind of magic he draws his power from is still in the area at the time. And if Gelt or any other lore of metal mage were to rip the adamantium from Wolverine's bones like Magneto did back in the 90s, they would basically just turn Wolverine into a feral berserker, with his healing factor no longer limited at all. Meaning there's a good chance he would end up getting possessed by Khorne or some demon of chaos, and possibly just become an indestructible chaos spawn. So that would be Fate Worse Than Death number 5? I don't know, I lost count at this point. It's your job to count now. Leave it in the comments below or I'm leaking your Discord chat to the internet. And let's be real, the only real threat this Skaven pose to anyone is their numbers. Wolverine could survive pretty much anything they throw at them and hack through their numbers by the thousands before he gets tired. Although I do think their use of Warpstone could be potentially harmful to him. Especially since they use Warpstone projectiles in their firearms. And since Wolverine is used to just tanking bullets, it's possible if he fought the Skaven he could end up being corrupted into a chaos spawn. Or just mutate into a mindless feral berserker. And then there's the ogres. They're a bunch of big burly warriors, and they might actually respect Wolverine for how much of a fight he can put up despite his size. But he's also a runt, and they throw theirs under a mountain. So there is a chance they would just try to eat Logan. And spoiler alert, that tends to not work out too well for anyone who tries it. If there was a place in the Warhammer world Logan had a chance to truly settle down in, it would probably be Kislev. I'm sure they would find a pint-sized human blender, anti-chaos fighting guy very valuable, so there would be a possible home for Logan among the bear people, which would eventually lead him into conflict with both the Norskins and Grimgor Ironhide. the latter of whom I could see Logan developing a long rivalry with, basically seeing everything he hates about the Hulk in this orc. And Grimgor is as tough as they come. He's fought Chaos Champions and won before, so I don't see him just losing to Wolverine in a fight. But he has no means of killing Wolverine either, so he would probably just view their rivalry as an endless source of fun. And of course, I think Wolverine would be able to pal around with Gotrek and Felix, two short king alcoholics who love fighting monsters. I can't see them traveling together too long because they would start to grate on each other after a while, but I could see them going on an adventure or two together, competing to see who can slaughter the most beastmen or orcs at any given time. Wolverine might even get interested in dwarven runes to get a few tattooed onto his body to help him resist magic more. That would be neat. If there's one group of enemies Wolverine would definitely struggle against, it's the trolls though. Fighting against other regenerating characters has always been something Wolverine has struggled with, and sometimes you just don't have a handy source of fire around to deal with them. He is smart enough to figure out that that would be their weakness after fighting them, and he would probably figure out that he can strike his adamantium claws against rocks to cause sparks and burn something. One troll is a very dangerous foe. If he somehow got surrounded by them, especially the ones under Throg, he would definitely have to form a tactical retreat and come back later. So I will once again ask the question, would Wolverine be able to survive the world of Warhammer Fantasy? And I do believe the answer is yes, but there's still a lot of things in this world that could kill even him. This whole versus scenario is surprisingly well balanced in my opinion. Wolverine fits in with the rest of the wacky weirdos of the Warhammer world pretty well. If you would like to see a part 2 of this video where I cover Wolverine entering the new world, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I think this video of Wolverine in the old world of Warhammer Fantasy is enough for now. You guys have a good one, you hear? Hopefully you guys don't end up getting sick with the transition of the seasons like my whole family is right now. Alright, I'm out. You guys have a good one. See you later.